Landy lovers, and welcome to another Landy Chat episode. Damon and I haven't done this in a while, and we just thought it's probably high time we had a bit of a chat. Obviously, we've had the end of 2021, had to think about that, and we've obviously had a little bit of time off over Christmas, but we have also been filming some very interesting content which will be coming your way in the coming weeks, and also there's big developments on the horizon as always, but we'll see what Damon's been up to. How's it going, Damon?
Yeah, good. As you can see, I'm in the shed on a nice, quiet Sunday evening. So I've actually been working on as you can see there, a starter motor. So it's not a Land Rover one. It's actually out of a Holden 186 that is in a Land Rover, so it's still relevant. So it just wasn't working, so I'm just going to pull it apart, clean it up, and I'm sure it'll work after a bit of a clean, like they mostly do. But yeah, otherwise, been working on lots of different Land Rover aspects, and seriously serious stuff, especially with that Christmas break. Geoff was here, so we got lots of interesting things happening. Yeah.
We've got an interesting 5-part series coming your way. Which what do we call it? Will it start? That was sort of the
Well, I think it was either will it start or will it run.
Yeah.
Same thing, but yeah. So that's going to be I think it was a bit different from what we normally do. It's kind of loose in terms of how we film it and everything, just because we literally plonked the camera there and sometimes moved it, sometimes we left it there, and it's just literally us either chatting or talking about random stuff, probably irrelevant to what we're actually doing on the particular Land Rover. But no, it was good fun.
Yeah. So the Land Rover itself, we're not going to tell you what it is. You have to guess. And all we can say is there's plenty of twists and turns in the series. So as always, watch this space. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do, because otherwise, if you don't click that notification button too, you're going to miss out. So that ain't cool. But we have got some other interesting stuff on the horizon too. I'm getting ready to gear up to do a 2,500 kilometre trip. And for this, I'm going to be using the Land Rover Parenti. And I'm going to be touring it's a bit of a tongue twister, southwest Western Australia. And this is a part of our Road to Ruin cinema tour. So we're going to be doing showings in Geraldton on the 24th of this month, and then Busselton on the 26th, and finishing up in Albany on the 4th of March. So this will be probably the last sort of big push that we're going to do for cinema showings for Road to Ruin, as we've had further developments with online streaming services in the last couple of months. So it'll be interesting to see how that all goes, and we'll obviously let you know in the coming month how it all develops, really. But we've been talking about future adventures too, haven't we, Damon?
Yeah, there's just so many options out there for us, because Land Rovers can literally go anywhere globally. But yeah, we've been talking, I suppose for a little while now, we've been talking about going to a pretty special place in Tasmania that not even Tasmanians actually go to. I definitely haven't been there. I don't know if you've been there, Geoff.
Whereabouts is that, Damon? Or we're not going to share that?
Oh, that's all right. We can share. Flinders Island.
That's right. No, I haven't been there. No.
So that's, and I don't think like a lot of people would actually know about this island. It's an island off of Tasmania on the northeast coast, and it's quite famous for their uh, dairy products and various other seafoods. But they've got some pretty interesting geology there, I'm sure, don't they, Geoff?
They do. They do. There's actually topaz, or they call them a Kilcracky diamond, that can actually be found in the sand around the actual or particular parts of the island, and they use a vacuum cleaner to actually suck these diamonds or topazes up, and you can purchase them relatively cheap, and they're quite nice, they're quite unique, and they look really good in an engagement ring. So yeah, but yeah, there's lots of other stuff there to be seen, and getting there's a bit of an adventure too. They use almost like a landing craft to put your vehicle on. So before we do it, we're going to need plenty of notice, because we're going to have to purchase, I think, some heavy duty lanolin for the Land Rover. We don't want it rusting. Lanolin it up, fish oil it up, and off we go. So we'll see how that goes for later in the year, I guess.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite a bit of, well, maybe a bit of research on getting over there. I've done some over the little time I've been talking about it. Logistically, it's possible. Yeah.
But the cost of the actual ferry or the landing craft to get over there is quite expensive. We have looked at it in the past, and it just hasn't been feasible. So what we've been doing is sort of hoping that we can sort of save enough money to be able to do it, because these adventures, don't need to harp on about it. It does actually cost a lot of money to be able to do them, and I think it's a return fare is about $1,500 Australian. So that's a lot of money for essentially a 30-minute video, but it's an adventure, and it's an adventure of a lifetime, so it'd definitely be worthwhile.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a special place that, again, like, I know locals there, so we might be able to get some local knowledge, and I'm sure they'll share some insight. So that's definitely a bonus. It's a who you know in Tasmania.
Oh, very much
a long way.
Yeah. But the other thing is too, like, imagine how many Land Rovers there'd be over there, Damon. Like, they'd be a bit rusty, no doubt, but there'd be some real gems.
Well, it's getting to a point, I think, like, we say, oh yeah, there's rust in all these Land Rovers, but it's getting down to the point where these Land Rovers have particular parts on them that are not readily available anymore. And I think they'll be the gemstones, those little indicator shrouds that you find on ex-military vehicles, those grills, those.
And it's not even just like the PDO units anymore either. As Damon's saying, it's really all those small parts, like even the oil pressure and temperature gauge in the 2 and 2A variant is very, very hard to come by. And temperature gauge, obviously, I had to think about it there, but the temperature gauge is obviously manual, so it has gas in it. So once that's snapped or snipped, it's no good. So yeah, all these little parts, instruments, and all the rest of they're worth a heck of a lot of money. Like, we've been talking about the 80-inch Land Rover that we own, and just like the horn button with the dip switch is close to $1,000 for one of them. So yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see what we dig up.
Yeah, I've heard plenty of stories that there's definitely lots of Land Rovers on Flinders and King Island, and there's no real economical way of getting them off the island, so they're all still there.
And I guess for our international viewers, if you imagine Australia, Tasmania is obviously the tiny little triangle off the bottom, but the little gap in between Tasmania and Australia, the continent, is known as the Bass Strait, and that's sort of where Flinders Island and King Island sort of sit, sort of one on the east coast and one on the west coast, just to give you a bit of context.
Yeah, and well, all you need to really do is just Google it if you want to get some insight to what we're talking about.
That's true.
Because our descriptions are probably pretty vague.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
You'll know exactly what we're on about when you have a little Google. But what else is? What about on the big continent, Geoff? What have we kind of been toying about that?
Well,
any trips?
We've been chatting really the last couple of days and about it, and this has been something that we haven't really spoken of in a few years. And it's not because we didn't have an interest in it. It was just that we probably both, and I'm just talking for myself here, felt that we weren't mentally sort of ready to take it on again. And this was the canning stock route. And obviously some of you who are watching this video have seen Road to Ruin, some of you haven't. But I won't reveal too much, but what I will say is that we have been doing a little bit of planning. We have been sort of looking at dates and times and how long it would take to do to actually revisit the canning stock route. And for this, we would probably take the Series 3 Land Rover that we went in last time, which is very much now a completely different beast, I would say. And because it's been rebuilt probably 3 or 4 times, and probably will another couple of times before then, because it's a Land Rover, it's what you do. And we would probably, and I'm just spitballing here, Damon, we would probably look at taking the Land Rover Parenti that we did on the last trip with the number 5 trailer, and whether we would take a third vehicle or not would have to depend on a number of other circumstances. So for that, I feel that obviously this year, it's definitely not going to happen. Next year, we don't know, but we've just got to both sit down and see how our lives outside of Seriously Serious fit into it. And also, once again, it comes down to the almighty dollar, whether we can actually afford to do it, because it is a big challenge. Finding the money to obviously pay for the airfares, pay for the fuel, and that's pretty much the biggest expenses. We don't really drink lavish beers, really, and yeah, we're not having rock lobster and oysters every night. So that's sort of what we're working on. We're thinking it might take us, we're allowing extra time as we do on these trips, because you literally just can never tell what's around the corner. But we're thinking about 3.5 weeks to sort of do the section that we're looking at. So that's going to be very interesting. And the other development is that we've got a new Land Rover project over here that I'll be introducing to the channel hopefully shortly in the coming weeks, and sort of talking about what we plan to do with that in the future and what the goals for that vehicle are. Back with us, Damon. Kalgoorlie internet has never been so good. So I just finished off talking about our chats that we've had in regards to the canning.
Oh yeah, yep.
And the new Land Rover that we're looking at potentially introducing to the channel over here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you want to reveal that at all?
Let's reveal it now, because it just shows, if you're watching this video, sorry, that was one of our volunteer organisations we work with, John from Track Care. But anyway, back to the video. So basically, for those of you who watch our videos and follow our videos, let's reveal it to you now. For those of you who just watch here and there, that's fine, but you'll find out about it later on down the track. So probably it's quite sad. 2 years ago, it's been sitting there patiently. I decided to purchase a 109-inch Series 3 Stage 1. And it is a 1983 model, but it is not your typical Land Rover Series 3 Stage 1. It is fitted with a 4BD1, which is an Isuzu engine. It's 3.9 litre, 4-cylinder naturally aspirated diesel. And because it's a station wagon, it's also fitted with the tropical roof. So I've just kept it there. It hasn't really done anything since I've had it. The reason being is, well, myself and Damon, with the trip that we did last year, we've just been too busy with the Series 3 pretty much. That just seems to be I won't say the gift that keeps on giving, it just keeps on taking up time. It's like a black hole. You put money into it and time into it, and you might get something out of it. It's just a bit, I guess it functions on the principle of be mean, keep it keen, or something like that. But anyway, so I've started work on that. I've looked at pulling out the LT95 gearbox or transmission in it, which is the same as the Range Rover. And it's actually really quite interesting. You can tell that they've literally gone to build the vehicle and they haven't had much money to do it, because it's literally just slap it together, make it work. And that's not an insult to the vehicle. But to get the actual LT95 gearbox out, I've had a look at it. There's physically no way of pulling it out the top as you would with a normal series Land Rover. You've literally got to drop it down and pull it out, which is a problem because I don't have a hoist. So I was going to anyway. I'm going to take the motor out, and then I'll take the gearbox out probably, because there's just not enough room around the actual bell housing to get it through the firewall. So that's pretty interesting. But other than that, it's incredibly simple. But there's lots of things that are different, like the steering relay that goes through the chassis is probably the same as what you'd get on a Range Rover, but the steering box is the same as what you'd get on a Series 3. So it's just all little bits and bobs. So
I suppose it's like a leap in generation from kind of like a Series 3 to a say a 110 when they went to like coils, because it was kind of stage when Land Rover was toying with Range Rover, I imagine. So they were kind of throwing some new stuff on, but keeping the old stuff there still, and using the obviously they came out with the V8 as well. So yeah, bit of a strange, not a unique, I wouldn't say strange vehicle, just unique, which makes them that much more special, I think.
Oh, definitely. And the configuration that we've got is very unique. And one of the reasons I bought it, as we've talked about at great length, Damon, is just for reliability. The 4BD1 was designed to be pretty much a stationary engine or a generator, and to be used in maritime usage. And then they realised, oh well, this is a really good engine, let's put it in light trucks. And then it ended up getting adopted by Land Rover and the Australian Army with their Parenti program, and it's just kind of gone from there. So with that and the LT95 and leaf springs all round, which sounds a bit odd, but leaves are much easier to work with than coils. There's a lot less bushes. It should hopefully be a relatively reliable Land Rover, but not too reliable. You have to have something to do when you get to camp each night. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And another good thing in your situation, I think, Geoff, is because the Parenti you have also has the same engine. You only need it when you order, say, service kits or filters. You just got to order two.
Well, that's it. That's it. It is interesting though. The Parenti has a spin-on filter, whereas the civilian variant actually has a cartridge. But you can simply just adapt it to have the spin-on, which I'll probably end up doing. So then, yeah, as you say, you can just order two of each.
Well, that's exactly what I do here because I've got the Discovery 300 TDI and the Defender 300 TDI. There are some variations like with alternators, belt sizes and pulley sizes. So you need different drive belt sizes, different filters, air filters. So small variations, but oil's the same, oil filter's the same.
Yeah.
And pretty much everything else, engine wires like gaskets and pumps and like it's all the same.
Yeah.
So it's great.
It saves a lot of money and a lot of hassle if you've got, even if they're different engines, but even if you've just got all diesel or all petrol, it just makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, and that's, I think, with the series vehicles I've got here, is they've literally all have Holden motors in them. And that's completely unintentional, but it's just how it happened.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong. Like some people don't like Holden conversions, but they did it for a reason back in the day, and it's kind of grown on me, I suppose, because that's just what I've been served. And when you come across a Land Rover at a good price and good condition, you don't really think about like obviously an engine that you don't like is going to be a deal breaker, but I think definitely if you toy with the Holdens, they do grow on you. So you need to kind of, like, I've been on both sides. Obviously with your series that you've got, so I've toyed with the 2 1/4s, but the Holden 6 is easy to work on, just as easy as the 2 1/4, I believe. So, and the parts are like over the shelf at Repco still. So
yeah,
plenty available.
Yeah. The only problem is you can't put a starting handle on it. That's probably the only thing, the only difference.
Yeah, that's one thing I probably do miss. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, I've never read anywhere that someone's made something up. Someone could have welded something onto the harmonic balancer, but that's like a probably big no-no.
Yeah. Because it is so handy. Like you just don't realise, like not even for starting the car, but I've used it in low range with obviously the battery disconnected just to move it a little bit in the garage because it's just too hard to push it, or just setting the timing is probably where it's really, really handy because you can do it statically, instead of having to pull belts and all the rest.
Especially when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things on Land Rovers, like bigger jobs, even smaller jobs, like bleeding the brakes. It's really handy to have two people.
Yeah.
But and then there's, I'm sure, as you've worked on your Landies over there, you just come up with ways to hold certain tools in certain positions whilst you go do what needs to be done.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think one I do with bleeding brakes when there's absolutely no chance of anyone being there to help. It's the beauty of having a seat box in a Defender or a Series Land Rover. You can get a block of wood and a long screwdriver like these ones here, and you pump them because you've got the bleed hose going to a reservoir of like brake fluid, so it's not going everywhere. You crack it, go pump it, use the screwdriver and a block of wood to hold the pedal down, go underneath the car, and then tighten it up and then release, and then just do that a few times. So it's worked for me.
No,
Past.
as long as it gets you over the line, that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's enough to stop you until someone does turn up.
And so, with your series Land Rover or Land Rovers, Damon, you've got some interesting projects coming your way. You've got a clutch to replace, don't you?
Yeah. So the Series 3 109 utility or wagon, whatever you want to call it. It's only got the 2-door one, the one you see in all the Edge of the Earth series. Yeah, the clutch is slipping. It's been slipping for quite a number of years now. So I've got to obviously take that out to find out what, because I have no idea what kind of clutch kit they've put in it in terms of the adaptation and the conversion, because sometimes there was various kits they use to actually do the conversion, and I'm not sure which one it is because I've not been in there to physically see what's been used. But yeah, so I can't order parts until I take it out and find out exactly what I need to get. And that way, yeah, it'll be pretty straightforward from there. Like once I know that, it'll be order the parts and then chuck a new clutch in, and then I'll have all the power.
All the horses. So typically, did they just modify the Holden flywheel to fit a Land Rover clutch? Is that typically how they did it?
Yeah, that, and also they use, depending on what engine was actually in the Land Rover originally. So it could be, in terms of a Series 3, could have been a 6-cylinder Rover engine, could have been 2.25.
Oh yeah.
Petrol or diesel. So that changes the way that it mates up and the flywheel, because the diesel flywheel was different from a 6-cylinder, say.
Yeah.
So that's the differences, and there was special plates made up as well, and there's different bolt patterns to marry it up. Some people drilled to make them marry up. So there's machining involved, and sometimes that was not done to the best standard. So there's some pretty, there's kit that it's like, I'm sure there is today. There's kits out there that are at a really high standard, and then there's also kits that are there just to get the job done, and sometimes there's little defects here and there. So it's just something that I haven't looked at obviously yet in that particular vehicle. But yeah, everything else in terms of particularly the conversion in that one, they've cut the original engine mounts off of the chassis and welded in some other ones. So that, in my mind, is not the best way to do it, because there were actually adaptation mounts that actually mounted to the original one, which is what I've seen in the actual flat tray I've got, which is quite a good conversion from just looking from the outside, and done quite well. But I just won't know until I get it in the shed and pull it out. But yeah, there's like lots of other things going on in the shed that need to happen first. Like my office, which has been moved into the shed. So that'll happen eventually. And then I can fit a Land Rover back in here, because at the moment there's plaster all on the floor still. so that's taking up the Land Rover position. But yeah, that'll be hopefully a lot easier than taking an automatic gearbox out of Discovery. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
It'll be almost relaxing, you could say.
Well, yeah, it'll be a lot lighter, because you can lift up a series gearbox. They are heavy, but a transfer case and a automatic transmission together are very heavy. So yeah, I'm still going to use an engine crane, and because it's just a lot easier. I have seen people obviously with all the bodywork off, and it's just the bare chassis. I've seen people lift them out that way, but that's not very good for the spine at all.
No, it's like the story I told you of a South African gentleman who was telling me he was a very big bloke, like just built solid, and he used to put a chain round his waist and then hook it onto the transmission and have a chain round that, and he'd just bend over and then he'd just pull himself up and pull the transmission out that way. But yeah, I'm not man enough to do it that way. I'd have to have too many wheat picks to make that happen. So yeah, best to play it safe in that regards, Damon.
Yeah. So no, that'll be. I might be doing that in the winter, I think, which is not far away. So
that's a nice winter project anyway.
Yeah. So I've got to do a few jobs on the Discovery and the Defender anyway, like replace bushes, a turbo, a couple other biggish things. Yeah, I've decided on the Discovery because I think I did tell you that it might be a head gasket on the way out, but I think it's just the turbo oil seals going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I thought I looked into it a bit more because situation was I had oil leaking down the exhaust side of the 300 TDI going down the block. And I thought, there's oil leaking out of the head, but there's actually no direct oil galleries there, so they're all water galleries. So I think the oil is coming out of the exhaust and inlet manifold gasket, which is then fed. So that's coming through the intercooler, which it's very common in the 300 TDI for it to leak out of the turbo when the seals go through and down, up through the intercooler and then into the inlet of the engine. And then from there, worst case, the engine will run away. So what I mean by that is the engine will essentially run on oil, and then that's a big jump out, try stop the engine from just exploding, literally. Because you can go to turn the vehicle off, but a diesel like that doesn't need power for it to run. So it's not a petrol. It's just going to keep going, and the revs will keep going up and up and up and up and up, and until stuff just starts going. So in a manual, it's easy to stop to a degree. You just chuck it in gear and let the clutch out. In an auto, it's not like that, obviously. So what you got to do is run out and then just try to stop the air getting into the engine. You've got to choke the engine. And you either got to do that by pulling the back of the turbo hose off and putting a block of wood there or something just to stop it sucking air in. So the reason I'm saying all this is that's something I've got to look into before it's too late, because if I get a runaway at all, I might just put a screwdriver next to the driver's door just in case.
And a block of wood.
And a block of wood, because if you put a rag in there, it'll just suck in the rag and make a big old mess. Yeah. So yeah, so that's probably the next big thing, I think, for the disco, because I'm obviously driving that every day. So it's 500 k's a week at the moment. So yeah, which isn't, when you think about it, it's not that much, but
Adds
for
up.
a daily, adds up very quickly, especially for an old Land Rover.
Well, that's 2,000 a month.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to do a timing belt very soon as well,
Nice.
which is every 80,000. I think they say. I think in the original handbooks they say 110 or 100, but now with the new upgraded OEM parts, Daco upgrades, it's 80. Is it 100 or? Sorry, I've got that the wrong way around. Originally they said, I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. I think the original book said 100, and then early on they decided, well, mechanics, whoever was servicing them, said it's 80,000 now. But now with the upgraded parts, I believe it's back to 100, 110k changeover. So if that makes sense, I probably confused a lot of people there, but yeah, just keep on top of your timing belts, because they're very important in a diesel, especially.
Oh, it's an expensive mistake if anything goes wrong with it. So
yeah, very well. Lots of things can happen. Lots of things bend.
yeah. Well, we might leave it there though, Damon. We've kept.
Yeah,
Hopefully, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you very much, and you haven't fallen asleep. And hopefully, there's been a few pearls of wisdom and some interesting stuff for you to look forward to on the channel. And I guess we'll catch them later on, Damon.
sure will. We'll try to do these a bit more, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we have been looking into having a chat with a few other key individuals who move within the Land Rover and I guess the more alternative off-road circles. And anyway, if you're enjoying the content here at Seriously Series, as I always say, please do check us out on Patreon. And if you're new to the channel and you want to find out who we are, what we do, and all the rest, then please do click on that subscribe button down below. Click on that notification button too. And we hope to see you in our next video. Anyway, we'll catch you then.